Can you talk a little bit about Gen AI Blueprint does and what it is and how it can be used to streamline automation?
Sure. So, we've been helping pretty large enterprises tackle what are pretty sophisticated workflow challenges for decades. And one of the things that we've seen is oftentimes workflow transformation projects. And, if you think about it, workflows are kind of at the core of every customer experience you deliver. If
Yeah.
you're a bank and you do customer service, that's a workflow. If you're an insurance company and you process claims, that's a workflow. If you're a health insurer and you have to onboard a new member and get them to understand their benefits, that's a workflow, right? So workflows are kind of at the core of how you deliver the most important experiences in your business. And transforming those, changing those, a lot of times when you're building out a project to do that, people spend a lot of time, thousands of hours, debating what the workflow needs to look like, looking at the current state. And it's very easy to both one, spend a lot of time in kind of, we often call analysis paralysis.
Right.
But it's also, often that, especially if you get people who live day to day with the as is workflow, as one of the executives I work with once put it, if you spend all day on the cow path, it's naturally that your instinct is to repave it, right?
Yeah.
So what you end up with is repaving the cow path. So instead of getting a nice 4-lane highway to run your workflows on, you've kind of followed the old way of doing things. And we look at Gen AI Blueprint as a way to break through some of that. So what Gen AI Blueprint does is it combines some of the best practices for key industry workflows that we've developed by working with clients and partners over the last many years with Gen AI, so that I can go in and say, hey, I'm a bank and I'm looking to, in my credit and card servicing area, I want to improve the way that I handle credit card disputes.
Okay.
And Blueprint will automatically, based on our best practices and by combing through just the knowledge of the internet with Gen AI, come back and say, great, here are the top 6 or 7 workflows that you should consider. And you can edit those, change those, vary the description of them. We'll take those workflow names and descriptions, we'll feed them back into our best practices in Gen AI, and we'll come back with and say, great, for each of those workflows, here's what the best practice would look like in terms of the high-level stages it needs to flow through, the individual steps that need to happen, the data models you need to have associated with it, the participants you need to account for in the workflow. And so that I very quickly, like in a matter of minutes, get a starting point best practice definition of my workflow done.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
can change it, suggest new ideas, but I want to minimize that tendency that you get when you get a bunch of people in a room staring at a blank whiteboard. I want to start with something that's already established as a best practice.